This guy is the best Welsh player of the last 30 years. This is the last... Oh, not the last.
This is the last 30 years in the video.
We've made a video of the last 30 years.
That happens to be Welsh. Before we get into the video, just want to let you know to subscribe to the content. Make sure you got the notification bell on as well. Feel free to drop any likes on the video. We really appreciate that. All right, and
Yes, Chris?
what do we got on today?
Yeah, we're going to determine who the best Welsh player is, I guess, of in our lifetime.
Yep.
I mean, there's probably some from 1,000 years ago that were pretty good, but sadly I never got the chance to see them.
So ones that we can probably comment on with.
Yeah, ones we've watched play, last 30 years tops.
Yeah, so sort of like a Premier League era.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. I guess there's one player kind of maybe in the discussion, so we won't limit it to Premier League, that may have done well outside of the Premier League, but within that sort of capacity or that sort of era.
Welsh player, last 30 years.
Deal.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm locked in for this one.
All right.
Cool. So you got any names you want to throw in the ring straight away?
I think, top of my head, I've got two big names.
Yep. Okay, so external to those two big names, can I just give you ones that I think may be worth just to mention, just a little... Hey,
how do you know who I'm going to mention, though?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just when you say two big names, I think we
Could be anyone.
It could be. But I'm just going to jump the gun then.
Okay, I think it's a safe assumption.
Yeah, and assume that these are not going to be names that you otherwise would have said.
Yeah, correct.
Just to say hello. So Mark Hughes, two-time Premier League champion. Obviously, unfortunately, those championships were with Man United, so maybe a bit unfortunate there. But worth a shout, definitely up there. Ian Rush, obviously predominantly doing his business before our time. Did kind of creep into the Premier League era there though as well. I think his work pre-Premier League probably warrants a mention. And then finally two other ones would be Aaron Ramsey, who did quite well pre-Juventus.
When he was at Arsenal.
At Arsenal.
Well, yeah.
Seems to always score a couple for Wales as well. And then, is it the Welsh Perlo or the Welsh Xavi?
Welsh Perlo.
Yeah, definitely deserves a little mention there, Joe Allen. But apart from that, I think we're kind of scraping the barrel, really going any lower than that. Again, they're just ones to make sure we're saying their name rather than actually putting them.
Give them a shout out.
Yeah, rather than putting them in the category. So the two big ones, I don't want to, beat you to these ones. You can show me the names.
It's going to be a big shock. It's going to be a big reveal here. Number one, Ryan Giggs.
As your number one?
No, in no particular order so far.
Okay.
Ryan Giggs is one. The second is Gareth Bale.
Yeah, okay. Could have seen that coming.
Yeah, you did. There's those two. They're obviously done amazing things in the game. They've got a great legacy. Both won lots of trophies.
Do you want me to quickly run through some?
Yeah, go on. Let's hear them.
Prepared a couple of stats here. So, I guess overall career appearance. We'll start with the number one name that you mentioned, Ryan Giggs. He has 949 club career appearances. He has 164 goals and 254 assists. Some of the honours within that, not going to go through them all because we'll be here all day, but it does have 13 English League titles and 2 Champions Leagues that jump straight out there.
They're the big ones.
Got some big cups in there as well, which he has done, like FA Cups, League Cups, things like that. He also rounds things off with 64 caps for Wales with 12 goals. So all in all...
Is that the record caps, you reckon?
For Wales?
Well, who else is it going to be?
Well, I'll debunk that straight away if you listen to this next one.
Okay, go.
You realise how far off that you are. So then when we come to Gareth Bale, name number 2 that you threw forward. So far, not quite as many total career appearances. He has 554. He has 186 goals in those 554 appearances with 139 assists. So he's already scored more goals than Ryan Giggs, but he's far below in assists.
Well, that's obviously to do with positioning and...
What, as in he's further forward, or...?
You said Bale's got more goals.
Got more goals, yeah, but far less assists.
Yeah, well, Giggs playing on the wing, whipping crosses it.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the other way around.
Oh, no, I was like, don't be shocked by those stats that one's got more goals and one's got more assists.
No, I thought you were
what we
the other way.
expect.
Yeah, anyway, moving on. So of the big honours, we could, again, very successful player. He has 3 Spanish league titles with a whopping 5 Champions Leagues. Something else to note as well, he maybe could get on the cusp, depending on how you look at it. He does have 1 MLS Cup champion as well.
That's the big one.
I don't know if you want to count that as major, but I think
the big one.
that's deemed as like the big one to win in the States.
You don't know whether to count it as major.
I mean, just because it's the MLS.
Do you know what the M stands for? That's the biggest one there.
Oh,
That's the biggest
sorry,
one there.
yes, it is a major league soccer
They're surely world
title.
champions.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
That's the World Series.
I was just
That has to be
World Series, baby.
Yeah.
No, I meant more is the MLS comparable with the FA Cup or the League Cup or something like
it's in a
that?
similar boat. I think, yeah, mate, if we're being serious, I think FA Cup is probably higher than the MLS. I think the standard of football.
However, just my reasoning for it was, sort of leagues. We're going with Champions Leagues. He has gone somewhere else, another country, and won the big one within that country.
Yeah.
Thought it was worth a mention. So yeah, these are the big two that we can sort of knuckle down with and see who comes out on
Who's got the
top.
most caps? You said you were going to debunk
I
that.
did, yeah. Sorry. Welsh caps for Gareth Bale, 108. So that far exceeds Ryan Giggs' 64
Caps?
caps.
How?
Well, I think if there's a Welsh game, Gareth Bale's probably going to play in it.
And Giggs wouldn't?
Yeah, but also when Giggs was playing, Wales weren't really doing too much.
You mean they're just competing in less competitions?
I think they were eligible for the same amount, but they just weren't getting there for a lot of them.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a priority for him as well. I don't know. But it seems that,
Interesting.
I think there's that famous flag, isn't it? Of like Wales, Golf, Madrid in that order for Gareth Bale.
Yeah. Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like he's almost making sure that is his
That's
season.
his legacy, yeah.
So if there's a game to play, he's likely to play it.
Yeah, no, I was just like, when I pictured Giggs, you think longevity, the age he got to. I think he's the oldest Premier League winner and things like that. Like starting, he's like famously part of that group of like kids that started so young at United, had all that success, and then he saw that all the way through essentially till his last or second last season where he won it again, and just surprised me because he's just longevity. I'm just expecting him to have the most caps the same way. I know he's top 4 in terms of Premier League appearances. Mm-hmm. No, that's all good.
Anyway, so let's start to try and break this down. Should we just go where are you kind of leading and maybe why?
Well, for me, I mean, you've just read through a lot of the accolades that they've both won there. The big 2 trophies, I think, for me, as a fan of the English Premier League. I mean, we
rules out the MLS Cup straight
No,
away.
okay, we'll convert that to league title. For me, I'm looking at league titles and Champions Leagues. I think they're the big 2. I think if a player's come through and won either of them or both or multiple as they both have, that's the most impressive thing. And I think it might come down to the old debate of potentially what's worth more out of those 2. But there's probably a second way we can look at it in terms of who do we think it's actually, forget about all the cups and just think about who is the better player. I mean, and that we might look more at the stats in terms of goals, assists, but then maybe, the old thing that I always think to settle a debate is if you've got 11 and you can only have one of them, who are you putting in your team? That for me is always a decider. But yeah, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, since how you failed to give an answer for your initial...
I'm sitting on it.
That classic fence for you. I probably controversially leaning towards Gareth Bale.
Why is that controversial?
I think because the majority of people are either A, United fan, or B, think that like that longevity and time doing it trumps pretty much everything else, which is a fair argument. 13 league titles, in a previous video we have discussed how, that's never going to be beaten or, will be next to impossible to beat. So the fact that he's been around for so long to do it time and time again, absolutely incredible and deserves the utmost respect for that. However, probably along those lines of like Gareth Bale, this is a guy who's winning Champions League finals single-handedly off the bench, dragging Wales through to the semi-finals of the European Championships, getting Wales to World Cups, things like that. I mean, Giggs famously never made it to a World Cup, not trying to, use that as the stick to beat him with, but these are things that as an individual performance or as an individual one-off game player, I do lean towards Gareth Bale. And I just think, Champions League, I mean, to win 5, like that's
huge.
Huge. Counter argument could be, maybe did he make the bench for the 5th? Can't remember anyway. It's not a game I want to think too much about. But, he's coming off the bench for a few of them. He's in and around the squad.
2 of them, you could say he won himself. There's that one where he scored late against, not an equaliser, winner. What?
Oh, you're talking
against
about
Atletico.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were talking about the box.
Well, the next one was he come off the bench and again scores 2 goals, wins them that game.
Yeah.
So like he's not just a squad player; he's actually in the final, like done.
Yes. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I think on the flip side to that, you could say for Ryan Giggs, like, okay, we're talking about majors of league titles, because obviously different league from countries, and Champions Leagues. You know, you could say more league titles, more Champions Leagues, so much of a muchness. Ryan Giggs then has probably so much more of everything else. FA Cups, League Cups, those kind of things, is almost topping up his pot, or, you know, increasing his standing within the game. That many appearances for, you know, one of the top 3-4 clubs in the world at all times.
I think Giggs for me, and yeah, again, we've probably said this before, he is a part of a team that was so dominant for so long. Huge credit to him. Like you said, he's got the appearances to show he's not just rocking up every now and again, coming off the bench. He is actually a main starter in that team, and did for so long. So he is a big part of the reason why they were so successful. But they were undoubtedly like the best English team for, like, you know, 20 years, with a few teams occasionally coming in, Arsenal challenging, occasionally Chelsea then coming in, City then towards the end of it coming in. But they're just the consistent one throughout, in which he was there, and which is why you'd then expect him to get all those domestic trophies too. In terms of like the world stage, win those Champions Leagues, I mean, you could say the same argument then for Bale being part of Real Madrid, who have been so successful, but Real Madrid in that competition have done so well. And like I said, Bale has come off the bench, and he's not just a squad player either. He's actually, when it matters most, he's scoring the goals in the big games. For him, like you said, he's gone to the MLS, and we just laugh, but you know, he has done it in multiple teams. I'm not saying that's the biggest reason, but it just shows his quality that he can go different places. Obviously, he was at Spurs for so long, but he was a bit younger there. It shows his versatility, not just in that, but like positioning as well, where he started as left back, goes to left wing, goes as a striker. You see him play for Wales. He's like playing absolutely everywhere. Like, he's almost got this free role where you see him in the middle of the pitch doing everything. So yeah, that's just some things to consider as well, I always think. Would you say the Premier League is the best league in the world?
I think most people would be in agreement that it is the best all-round league, you know, in terms of depth especially. You know, from 1 to 20, you're not going to find 20 teams as good throughout any other league. You know, where 20th could really give any top team a good go on their day, sort of thing.
Well, for Giggs to be top of that 13 times.
Yeah, and as I say, like, it is really difficult, because longevity-wise, it's always that one that is brought out very quickly when, like, an old school player is ever questioned about maybe a new school player coming. Like, I'll wait till he does it for like X amount of years, like so and so. The one that quickly springs to mind is that, like, Van Dijk argument of people go, you know, Rio, Terry, Vidic as like the counters to that. Like, yeah, he might be a one season as good as them, but has he done it for that long?
For the longevity.
And yeah, fair enough. Like, great point. And that is almost the one for Giggs, in just like, you know, he's done it for so long at the top, at like the pinnacle of clubs. So it's a hard one to almost go against that. And maybe something worth noting as well is maybe we do have this like slight bias, being Liverpool fans, that we're almost naturally going to be more in favour of...
But Bale has burned us so bad in that Champions League final.
For sure. And I mean, for Tottenham, there was a couple of seasons there where, you know, Liverpool were pretty average in a couple of those, but, you know, pushing them forwards when otherwise we may have been pushing forwards as well. So I definitely agree with that, but I would say Gareth Bale winning a Champions League final for Real Madrid against Liverpool is an easier pill to swallow than Ryan Giggs winning title after title for Manchester United.
Yeah. Okay, well, I always think then, if you've got a huge game, you've got a Champions League final or a World Cup final, and you're the Wales manager, you can only pick one at their peak. Who are you putting in?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to put Gareth Bale in there. I just think, as you brought up a few things, he could play multiple positions, both defensively and in that attacking realm. He's the one. Ryan Giggs was, you know, very quick, very versatile. You know, we've seen the videos where he can run past players, but Gareth Bale has that pace and that power where he would frighten you. Like, as a defender, you're like, oh my God, I don't want Gareth Bale running at me. You know, those couple of seasons there where he was for Tottenham, and then initial seasons at Real Madrid, you know, scoring crucial goals at important times, be it pushing for the Champions League with Tottenham or in finals with Madrid. You know, you think of that goal against Barcelona where he's literally off the pitch and then he runs back on. You're like, man, we actually like removed this guy from the field of play and he still scored.
He's ran so much further than the defender.
You know, so there's times like that where you just like, as a one-off, it's got to be Bale.
Well, just as a different kind of question then, if you were going to give one of them a 5-year contract at their peak, who would you give that to?
Yeah, again, so that's probably, I'd have to flip completely now, in that you'd have to give that towards Ryan Giggs.
Because he's just going to give you the consistency.
Consistency. He's always fit. He's dependable. Again, not that Bale wasn't, but he can play in multiple positions. He's probably amazing squad player to have in and around the team. And we know Gareth Bale's injury record isn't exactly the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a great question and a great way to phrase it. And it is that difficult one of like, where is the question led towards? Like,
so for us, I guess the question that we've, set up is, who is the best player at their peak? I think in that situation, we would both agree Gareth Bale. So like a one-off game, Gareth Bale in his best form, everything going right, versus Ryan Giggs, you'd probably lean towards Bale. I mean, we've seen him do it, as mentioned, but Giggs, that no one can take away from him. He's got the longevity, he's got the consistency. So as a player in your team, if you're looking at a season, if you're looking at multiple seasons, that's probably when you'd start looking at Ryan Giggs. And that's when someone says, Suarez came to the Premier League and he lit it up for 2 seasons. Cool, he's gone. Giggs has stayed there and he's done it for year after year after year for, his whole life, essentially.
Yeah, great point. I guess then maybe even on that is, you are like a Nottingham Forest who's just come up, or a Fulham who's just been promoted. Both of these players are in and around that like 32, 33, 34. For some reason or somehow they're available on this free contract where you can pick them up. Which one are you going for?
I'd probably still go Giggs then, in that one, because a big thing for me is injuries. Bale's probably someone you want in the squad. So when you need him, you can deploy him. But if you're talking about 38-game season and you need a player who's going to be there every week, because of those teams that's coming up, every game is a battle and you need points whenever you can get them, and you need someone who's just going to be there giving you his all. I think Bale is kind of like that guy you'd put into your finished product, the likes of like a Real Madrid, and they did that so often where they had their great team. And in those finals, they're like, okay, we need someone who's now going to win us this game. We've tried this, it's not working. Bring him in, and then he's just got that spark. Which, when he came back to Tottenham, I guess is the situation we saw recently. We did see those moments from Bale, but again, it probably wasn't consistent enough that you wouldn't say, okay, that was a huge successful spell. He did come back, score a goal or two, and you saw, I remember Bale, he had all these things, but...
Interestingly, I saw a funny stat relating to that season. It was just like, since Gareth Bale left Spurs, the only season he didn't win a trophy was the season he went back to Spurs on loan.
Oh, really? Yeah, wow.
Which I just thought was a funny statistic.
Was he there all season, or was he just...
Yeah, I think it was the whole entire season. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, wow.
And that was the only season he didn't win a trophy.
Yeah, that's right. I guess Spurs aren't, looking to win trophies every season. They're not. I wouldn't describe them as title contenders.
Yeah.
But they're just probably hopeful they can win a domestic cup here and there, and then continue to keep progressing. I think if we have to now sit here and decide one or the other, we've given reasons, I guess, now for both.
All right, so Premier League all-time 11.
I think...
I'm not saying you need to put him in that, but, that type of scenario where we're putting names forward, who are you putting forward?
I think the longevity...
From, like, this Welsh...
Well, I think the longevity carries a stronger argument, because, Suarez will never get in a Premier League 11, even though we've said before he probably has the best individual campaign of any player. So I would put Ryan Giggs in that. But if I'm putting a best ever Welsh team together and I'm looking for someone on the left wing, I'll probably be looking at Bale over Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
If I could only have one, that someone else more intelligent would put them both in. But
yeah. But again, depends what system you're playing, because then you're looking at like forwards. Yeah. As I say, we've probably mentioned 2 previously as well.
I'll get off the fence, as you accuse me of doing, and I'll go for Bale, just base.
That was a flip.
No, I think Bale's peak is higher.
Okay, yeah.
I think Ryan Giggs giving you, so many 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 seasons.
Yeah.
I think Bale's probably got a few low scores, but then he does have some 10 out of 10s in there as well, which I just think, at his peak, he is the best. It's just unfortunate that he's not doing it all the time.
Yeah. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. And I think, if I was pushed right here, right now, I've got to put a team out on the weekend. Obviously, Ryan Giggs is very old, so I'm not going to pick him. But more so in their peak, who would I want for this one-off game? I think Gareth Bale.
Yeah, if they're both fit, I think Bale's the better player at their peak.
So there we have it, guys. We are unanimous in naming Gareth Bale the most influential or the best Welsh player at their peak. Let us know what your thoughts are. Of course, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are probably going to be in the Ryan Giggs camp,
Huge,
which I don't think is a bad shout at all, must be said. Taking that bias cap away, if you do say Ryan Giggs, I can't really...
You can't complain. I mean, we've given reasons for both. I mean, we've given the reason as to why we've said Bale, but Ryan Giggs has got so many things going for him. You could easily say that for so many other reasons too.
So make sure you drop a like on the video. Let us know in the comments down below that Welsh player. Thanks, guys. That was Red Mate.
All right, thanks, guys. Red Mate.